Alright, so to make fermented pickles, you need to gather up some supplies. First is sea salt. You do not want iodide, so anything that says the salt does not contain iodide, blah blah blah, ingredients, salt, nothing else in it. You can use whatever kind. You can use the pink Himalayan, doesn't matter, but you need this salt. Something else you can get is peppercorns. Give it a little spice. You need canning jars. Well, you could just use tomato sauce jars, whatever you have, glass, you can put a lid on. These are cheap enough, and if you're canning using boiling water and vinegar and such, yeah, that's what these would be great for. But they work for this also. I also have very large jars I could do this with, but I'm not going to. It takes up too much room in the refrigerator. Now there's a couple different kind of canning jars. You can see the tops. This style is a small lid. These are great for jams, sauces, anything like that. But things you want to retrieve, you're going to need the wider mouth. So it's a wide mouth jar. You can get your hand in it. This one here, no such luck. Trying to get a pickle out of this won't work. You could put chips, and things like that in it, but any kind of spears or whole-size pickles, I would stay away from this. Now they sell these lids, and they sell these. Well, these are the lids and the screw-on piece here. They sell everything separately, so the jars don't go away. The lids will go bad after time, kind of rust, and these are good when you're using for canning in the hot water. When you put it on there, this is what seals. So it only seals the once. So once you break the seal, you can use it to leave a lid on your jar, but you can't reuse this lid here for canning. That's a one and done for the canning, where you boil water, put it in there, and let it cool, and it sucks the lid on. So that's not good. Yeah, this is the new lids you get. I think it was 12 lids in a pack. Really cheap. They sell them at the grocery stores. They sell them at Walmart, online, Amazon, wherever. Doesn't matter. So you don't have to be super sterile with everything, but you do have to wash these out. Make sure there's no junk in them. Soap water. That's all. A couple of the other ingredients I got to get out of the refrigerator. So what I'm doing right now is warming this water up. It's getting there, so we can put the salt mixture into the water. It's two tablespoons per quart. I put 4 of these into there. These are quart jars, so I got 4 quarts, 2 tablespoons per. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get all this ready. Well, actually, all this is warming up. I'm going to gather up the rest of the ingredients and get that out. Side note, these jars are great too. They're smaller. What's this? 1 cup, 2 cups, half a quart. They still use the largemouth lid. So you can put good chips in here or whatever. These are quite convenient, and you can make small batches using these, and it's still great to retrieve things out of. So one of the ingredients, well, the main ingredient for the dill is dill weed. It's kind of hard to get the whole bunch like this. Usually you got to buy it in little packages that are around this size, and you can find it at Walmart, most grocery stores. There's not much in it. If you can find it and buy it by the bunch, you get a lot further when you're trying to do this. Otherwise you're jamming little bits of dill in there. You don't get a lot of dill flavor. I got this at one of the yuppie stores. People still wearing masks and blue hair and stuff. Sprouts up near your Home Depot in Bel Air. That's where I got this. Next, you're going to need bay leaves. Bay leaves keep the crunch in the pickle. These I've never tried before. These are fresh. They're not dried out. You could also use the dried out that comes in the big container like this. I tried it last year or a couple years ago when I was making these with grape leaves also, which you can use. I did it with the bay leaves, and then I couldn't find many of these, and then I was growing grapes. I had grapevine, so I just used the grape leaves, and mediocre results. The point of the leaves are for crispiness of the pickle, so you get a crunch. It maintains a crunch. Don't ask me how, just does. Don't be shy using them. Put plenty in there. You're gonna need garlic. Now, you kind of garlic it to your choice. You can, well, I would put at least 1 clove in. Yeah, if you put more, it's up to you. It's recommended not to cut them or smash them. If you want strong garlic flavor, go ahead. Depends on your tastes, but garlic is pretty good in the pickles. The main ingredient, the cucumber. I found these. These look like very large Vlasic style pickles. Pretty green. I gotta wash these still. They're 3 for $5, I think it was. It wasn't very much. Now with the cucumbers, the one thing you gotta remember is you're supposed to cut the flower end off. This is where it would have a little tuft of flowers coming off. When you see it on the vine, you know, it's hanging on the stem, and it has like a little tuft of leaf up here. Or when it's, before it grows there, that's where your flower was, and then this grows out. So, they say there's some kind of enzymes or something in here that will soften the pickle when you go to pickle it. It'll soften the cucumber, make it mushy. So you just cut the tip off. Other people have said cut both ends. I just cut both ends, be safe. You're only missing a little tiny piece, so chop it. This is just, I don't think this is a pickling cucumber, and it's probably going to have large seeds in it. And I'm not sure the meat, the pulp inside, how thick of a band it is. They say use, if you're going to use regular cucumbers from the store, the English ones that are usually have a wrapper on them with no wax. You don't want wax on the pickle, you want it natural. If you get the English ones, they have very little pulp seed center, and some of them have huge seeds and huge pulp centers. We'll see what these have. Haven't done this in a while, but whatever, they're still going to be good. Alright, so I'm using this sea salt here. So it's 2 tablespoons per quart, 4 quarts. So. And it doesn't have to be perfect. A little less, a little more is okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is called your brine. Water's pretty warm. Might turn it off here. I don't really want to boil it, and then you gotta wait for it to cool down some. Stirring the salt real good. I'm gonna turn this off. So you don't want the water hot enough. So what we're building is like we're going to use natural yeast to ferment the pickles. It's already in the fruits and vegetables, and we're just going to utilize what's in here. The salt brine with the pickle in here. You close up the lid, not tight, I'll show you, and then you put it away in the cupboard for like 3 to 4 days, and it ferments itself. You got to deplete the bacteria of oxygen. It's pretty awesome. It's kind of like making whiskey or something like that, same type of process. All right, so that's stirred up pretty good. Just leave this sit now. I'm going to take it off the stove top so it can cool down some. You just don't want it hot enough where it melts or kills the bacteria in the vegetables. So the water, well water is fine. Distilled water, whatever, any kind of water you want to use, spring water, bottled water. You just don't want chlorine in it. So city tap water you don't want to use. They add the chlorine. That'll kill the bacteria. When you put it, make your brine and you put it in the jar, you know, it can kill the bacteria you need for the fermentation process. So the dill, you want to use all the dill. You want to use a lot of it, and you even want to use the stems, or if it has flowers, you use it all. You just jam a bunch in there. And when you get down to these stems, cut them up. More surface area, more flavor. Yeah, we'll throw all that in there. I got 2 bunches. I'm gonna cut both of them. I'm not a fan of cutting garlic. It's always a mess. So, all right, with cucumber, we're just going to chop the ends off just like that. Toss any to the side. So with the jar, you want to make sure you got enough room to put your ingredients, the bay leaves, the dill, all that kind of stuff in here. And then you don't want the pickles to come up over the shoulder here. You want the pickles to kind of get jammed in here. If you're using the smaller one, it's more pronounced, the smaller mouth. It's more pronounced, but you can't get them out later. So I figure if I cut them about like this, right around here, maybe in half, that should be plenty. Try it and give it a test. See, that's perfect. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all these to about the same size. Cut the ends. And then you got to cut a little bit off of them. Again, it's only the flowering end, which like in a pickle like this where it's cones at the end, that would be the flowering end. And that would be the stem. Some of them are easier to tell, like this one. It narrows at both ends, or whatever. Perfect. So I'm going to make a couple jars. I think I'll do some maybe halves. Since these pickles are, or these cucumbers are rather large, I can do quarters. If I had the little ones on the vine, like the little pickling cucumbers, you can do halves, quarters. You can do it any way you want. You can do them as wholes. You can't do these as wholes, so get 3 in the jar and in the end. You want to pack everything in there pretty well. So I think what we'll do is, this one's got a curve in it. It's kind of hard to pack in, so I might do this one in quarters. This one here, do our half. See, it's got a lot of meat in it. There's a lot of seed pod and everything. So the actual meat of it's kind of narrow. Might not make the best pickle. Might have a mushy center. Large seeds, large pickles. So, all right, let me get the other ingredients out. Actually, they're already out. Okay, so what you want to do is take a chunk of dill and just jam it in there. You can't use too much. I'm going to use a bunch of the stems, put that in there. The more you use, the more dill flavor you get. And that's the whole point, right? So I'll jam them in there like that. We can do a little more. Not sure how far what I have, how far that'll go, so I don't want to use it all right away. This goes into preference, again, taster's choice. I'm just going to use 1 clove. And I'm going to see how many I get. I think when I get towards the end, I'm going to put a couple cloves in just to see what that one tastes like. And I'm going to use a little peppercorn. I got a teaspoon. Put some peppercorn in there. It's not even very much, right? And then we're going to have to put some bay leaves in. Look fine. I might just cut the stems off of these. I don't trust them. I don't know if that actually makes any difference. But again, the bay leaves make them crisper, more crunchier, yeah, crunchy. All right, so now you're gonna take your cucumbers and just start stacking them in there. You want to make sure they get in there rather tight. And you don't want them floating in the brine when you dump it in. You want them to stay put. You don't want to smash them in there either, but they're not coming out. So that's pretty good. You can choose to put some more on top if you want. We have plenty, so I'll put a little batch up there. Maybe a little more leaves. Now, one of the tricks you got to do, these will end up floating, is you can take, you got to have like a sacrificial pickle that you can jam into the top. All right, so you wedge that in, and this will hold everything down. And again, if you had the smaller mouth jar, you can get it wedged in there pretty good. This one's wedged in. It's not coming out. You want to keep everything in the brine, below the brine. If this one's out a little bit, that's okay. Water's cooled down, still warm. You know what I should do? Stir this one last time, make sure there's no minerals or anything settled. And then we're going to fill this. We want to fill it right to the top of the neck, or the bottom of the neck. Right around there. That's good. You could probably put a little bit more in there. Yeah, we'll put it right there. Everything's submerged and it has room to breathe, because as this ferments, it'll gas. It'll create little bubbles and it'll gas out. So you want to make sure it has room to do that, so you don't get any popping going on in the cupboard. I'm taking my lid, I'll set that on there. I'm going to put this on loosely. There's ways you can, they sell different kind of lids and stuff for doing this, but you don't want to crank it down. Again, it's going to gas. You don't want it to pop, so just leave it loose. The gas can get out of this. All you're doing is keeping bugs and stuff out of it. The air will come out, and that's it. The other thing, we'll give it some taps on the table, see if there's any bubbles in it, make sure everything's settled in. See, there's little bubbles coming up. And that's it. Now I'm gonna finish making the rest. wipe down the inside lip of this jar and make sure you don't have any crud on there from the pickling, like, you know, seeds or the inside of a pickle. You know, just clean it up. You're going to get a yeast mold film sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. It's perfectly fine, but the more shit you have laying on top, the more you get a chance of mold. Excuse me. So just wipe it down, that's all. Out of these, I think I can make chips to put in this one. This one I'm gonna put a lot of dill in too. I'll put 2 cloves. If I run out of room, I'll just pull it out and put it in the other jar. I still got another jar sitting right here. Put some leaves in here. Smash it all in there. And don't make too many changes while you're making this. Like, oh, this one I'll mix this much, this one I'll mix that much. Try being regimental, so that way when you do make a change, you'll be like, oh, this one, money. And remember what you did. Sometimes you can stick a little bay leaf in there. Looks nice. On the side. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have enough room. It's alright. Take it all out and put it in here. No. is how they look when you're done. Remember, I got the lids on a little bit tight because I was shaking them, and that's all right. I'll loosen them when I put them away. You make sure all the water bubbles are out. It gets down in the ingredients in there, and you gotta shake it, the bubbles to come up. You don't want any bubbles. You're trying to get the air out of the solution so it can ferment. All right. So one thing to notice is the water's clear. You can see the green of the pickles real good. Right, and when this is done, they won't look like that. So what you got to do is you take these. We're going to store them in the cupboard. I'll show you that in a minute. For 4 days. After 4 days, you can take them out of the cupboard, and you can put them in the you put them into the refrigerator for about a day or longer. And what'll happen is that when you take these out of the cupboard and you put them in the refrigerator, they're going to end up looking more like this, kind of translucent instead of like this. And that's because this brine is also going to turn into like a milky color, not milky, but translucent color similar to that. It'll kind of get hazy. That's okay, it's supposed to. The other thing is you're going to get a film probably on the top, and that's okay too. That's the gas bubbles and stuff. You can remove that. There's nothing in there that'll hurt you, right? So as long as nothing gets in there like a bug or whatever, you don't want any junk in it. But if you've done everything the same way I just did, it won't produce any foul material. Now when you open the lid, you can sniff it, okay? And when you sniff it, if it smells rancid, no good. If it smells like pickles or dill, good. So when this ferments, this is going to turn this into vinegar, okay? An acidic, high pH or whatever, and it'll permeate that flavor into here. So we're not adding vinegar or anything. It's just salt, water, and dill weed with some peppercorns. All natural, super healthy. It's like probiotics and all that kind of stuff. Very, very good. The more flavor you put into it, you can put whatever you want in here. You could put pepper strips. You could take some jalapenos out of the garden, dice them up. Don't use the seeds, but put some strips in there. That's going to give it a good spicy flavor. Or the banana peppers. You can throw a couple banana pepper rings in here. I wouldn't do too much, or you're going to have like scorching hot pickles, unless you want that. But onions, you can throw a lot of different things in here to change your flavor. Also, if you're looking at different spices, you can try, I don't know, take your pick, look up at some recipes. There's all different kinds. This is basic dill pickles. They're damn good. You can wait like 3 days and check them. You do that more with this kind here. With if you put like chips at the top up here or something and submerge them, they're sacrificial, but you can kind of taste what the flavor is. It ain't gonna hurt you, but you'll understand like the flavor palette that you just created, and you can check and see if they're done. If they taste a little bit too cucumbery, not softened up any, you know, they don't taste as much like a pickle, you can leave them in there another day. It really depends on the room temperature. You know, I think it's 72 degrees takes 4 days flat, like exactly, and then throw them in the refrigerator for a solid day, and they're going to be phenomenal. You know, if you're running a little bit cooler of a house, it might take 5 days. I've seen people say 7 to 8 days. Really depends. So you got to play with it a little bit, but start with the 4-day rule and see what you come up with. We'll check these again in a few days, and I'll show you what they've turned to. But this is where we're at so far. Just remember, they're not going to look like this when they come out. They're going to look more like this. These were actually canned boiling, using vinegar, salt, and different stuff. See, I have like a red pepper in there, peppercorn, some garlic. That's about it. Some dill. I don't even know if I got dill. There's a grape leaf right there. Yeah, there's a little dill in there. All right. I just opened this. I pulled this out of the cupboard, and I did these in 2020, and they're still good. But that's canning it this way, like you buy at the store, and storing them in dark, cool places. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the cupboard. So I'm gonna keep these in this cupboard. You want to keep the sun off of these. You want to keep them in the dark. You can leave them on the counter. Just put a trash bag, or not trash bag, a paper bag over them, or a box. So keep the sun off of them. The sun slows down the process. Actually, it kills a lot of the bacteria, UV rays, and all that kind of good stuff. So you want to make sure you just keep them in a dark, cool place. Well, not really cool. You just don't want it hot. Like I said, around room temperature. You don't want it near an air vent or something like that that's blowing cool air. That'll slow the process down. So you're usually going to ferment for 4 days, and when you put them in the refrigerator, it stops the fermentation or drastically slows the fermentation, and they're done. It's kind of like cooking them. They'll still ferment in the refrigerator. Like if you get these out and you taste it right away, it'll have a flavor. You put it in the refrigerator, a day later it'll have a different flavor, and if you left it in there for, say, a month, they're going to taste even more. The longer you let this sit, the garlic and the dill and all soaks into the pickles more and more. If you put peppers in there, everything will kind of blend even more and more the longer you leave them sit, and they're going to be really tasty.